Chapter 3. The Tyrant Who Caused Resentment. The divine mechanism descended after ascending the throne. The karma from killing his father and brother caused the dark energy of the dragon in Emperor Qin Qiong to expand day by day. He was no longer a king, but a puppet for ambition and cruelty. He ordered the digging of the Grand Canal. The resentment of the souls who could not be liberated rose up, turning the beautiful canal into a dragon vein filled with death energy, nurturing demons everywhere. Not stopping there, Emperor Qin Qiong's arrogance reached its peak when he looked to the east, where the small country of Goguryeo was located. He considered their disobedience a thorn in his eyes, and decided to launch a large-scale war to demonstrate his heavenly might. Little did he know that this was the trap that fate had set to end his dynasty. In 612, a million Sui troops, an unprecedented number in history, marched towards Liaodong. But that mighty army was blinded by demonic energy. The generals were possessed by demons, became foolish, and gave wrong orders. Emperor Yang of Sui himself was disturbed by his inner demon, constantly interfering with the strategy, causing chaos in the army. The climax of the tragedy took place at the Sashui River. General Yuji of Goguryeo, who was also a cultivator, set up an altar to ask for help from the water god. When the 300,000 vanguard troops of the Sui dynasty crossed the river, the water god raised the water, drowning almost the entire army in the flood. The survivors were killed by ambushes. Blood stained a section of the river, and their cries reached the sky. This humiliating defeat shook the entire Great Sui. The resentment from the battlefield, combined with the resentment of the laborers in the country, created a dark storm that covered the country. Mortal uprisings arose everywhere, but behind them, there was the rise of demon kings and devils who took advantage of the opportunity to gather vitality and build power. Since the last years of Emperor Yang of Sui, the world was in chaos in all directions. In Hebei, there was Dou Zhandi, originally a commoner, now rising up in arms, recruiting poor people, an army of tens of thousands. Using the name of saving the suffering and the needy, the people's hearts turned to him. In Henan, there was Li Mi, a descendant of Li Gong of the Han Dynasty, who claimed to be a general, was good at using strategies, once had tens of thousands of troops, and was as powerful as cutting bamboo. In Luoyang, there was Wang Shikong, originally a great minister of the Sui dynasty, relying on his power to defend the capital, gradually seized military power, and dreamed of becoming emperor. In Taiyuan, the military governor Li Yuan initially raised the flag of supporting Sui, but in reality secretly recruited troops. His son Li Shimin was more resourceful than others, plotting day and night. The world was divided into 5 or 7 parts, with war everywhere and smoke and fire rising to the sky. Heroes gathered. At that time, the heroes of the martial arts world chose their paths one by one. Qin Shubao was loyal and decided to follow Li Yuan, devoting all his efforts to Li Shimin. Dan Zhongxin became sworn brothers of heroes, but his fate was tied to Wang Shikong, and he refused to abandon his old friend. Cheng Daojin, with his free-spirited nature, also returned to Li Yuan, serving as the vanguard general. From then on, the 3 sworn brothers now stood on 2 different fronts, signaling the heroic and tragic wars to come.
Mysterious side story. It is said that one moonlit night in the central South Mountains, a Taoist priest looked down at the plains and lamented. Heroes gather, fate turns. One holds a spear, one holds a hammer. They are destined to be sworn brothers, but they cannot be of one mind in the future. Some die with loyalty, some live with fate. Red blood will flow throughout the central plains, until the true dragon appears, establishing a new dynasty. That night, a ray of light also flashed in the north. Folklore said that in Yozhou, there was a young man with the surname La, born with a handsome appearance, practicing spears like the wind. One stab kills with one strike. People called him La Fan. But fate had not yet come. That young man was still hidden among heroes, waiting for the day to enter official history. The world was in turmoil. Yang Guang, emperor of Suyang, was immersed in wine and women. The people were starving, and bandits were everywhere. In the provinces and districts, heroes appeared like stars in the sky, some for fame and profit, some for great cause. And there are also Taoists, immortals, who silently descend to the mortal world, guiding the fate of the central plains. In the stormy night, on the top of Daksan Mountain, a Taoist in green clothes looked down at the human world, muttering, "The dragon will leave the river, the tiger will leave the mountain." The Sui dynasty has ended, the Tang Dynasty is about to open, but blood will be stained, heroes will fall. Only those who keep their hearts bright will be in accordance with the destiny of heaven. Meanwhile, in the Tang camp, a new figure arrived. Tu Mao Kong, also known as Tu the Tap, later given the surname Lai. He was originally a disciple of Fan Weiyang Tu, famous for his godlike strategy. Mo Kong every night set up a celestial table, drew stars on the sand, and said to lie the damned. The destiny of heaven has been decided. Duang will replace Sui, but the mandate of heaven also tests people's hearts. Don Hung Tin is a tiger in the forest, not necessarily an eternal enemy. We must let righteousness be a bridge. Do not let blood and swords divide us. Lai the Dan listened, keeping his words in mind. Tang Dynasty's fortune Yuan was in Taiyuan worried. One night he dreamed of a golden dragon flying into his palace. When he woke up in the morning, he saw the house pillars still had traces of dragon light. A Taoist priest came to see it and immediately knelt down and said, "That is the image of the emperor. The Lai family's strength will decide the world." From then on, Li Yuan decided to raise an army, open the way to Chang'an, and raise the flag of uprising. The heroes submitted one by one, the drums shook the sky, and the flag of righteousness fluttered. The world was in chaos, but amidst the smoke and fire, a bright moon shone. The Tang Dynasty's foundation began here.
Chapter 4. A Hero in a Corner. A strange encounter with a dragon. After the Battle of Goguryeo, Qin Shubao returned to his hometown, his heart heavy with worries. He had seen too many senseless deaths, and had seen the corruption of a court controlled by demons. He was still a police officer, but the sword in his hand was no longer just a weapon of the court, but a magic weapon to protect the people. One day, he received an order to escort a prisoner to Luzhu. The trip was unfortunate, and an old prisoner died of illness. When he arrived, the prefect surnamed Tsai, a man with cunning eyes and a body that emanated the stench of demonic energy, absolutely refused to stamp the document. He knew that Qin Shubao was a righteous man, so he deliberately made things difficult for him, wanting to dampen his morale. Stuck in Luzhou, with his money running out, Qin Shubao fell into dire straits. The innkeeper, influenced by the prefect's demonic energy, also turned his face in contempt. In desperation, Qin Shubao had to make the most painful decision: sell the horse Huang Piao and the pair of golden scepters, which had accompanied him through life and death. This action was not only selling his property, but also an insult to a martial star general. When he led his horse to the market, evil spirits from all over came to laugh at him, wanting to see how low a heavenly general could be. But in the midst of that motley crowd, there was a tall man with a goatee and eyes shining like torches. This man was Dan Zhengxin, the owner of Outshone, a famous hero throughout Shandong. But his true identity was even greater than that. He was originally a Jiaolong that had cultivated for 1,000 years in this river region. Out of admiration for the spirit of the heroes of the human world, he transformed into a human and made friends. When Dan Zhengxin saw Qin Shubao, he did not just see a handsome man who was in trouble. His dragon eyes saw the golden light of a divine general, temporarily covered by dark clouds. He stepped forward, not asking to buy, but bowed his head and saluted. I am Dan Zhongshin. May I ask, are you brother Qin Shubao? I have heard of you for a long time, and only met you today. How did you end up like this? A stream of righteous energy from Qin Shubao and a stream of spiritual energy from Dan Zhongshin met, repelling all the evil energy around. Qin Shubao also felt the other's extraordinary aura. The two looked at each other, and without many words, they understood each other's aspirations. Dan Zhongshin did not buy a horse, but invited Qin Shubao to the estate, treated him as an honored guest, and gave him gold and silver to take care of everything. This meeting rekindled the fire in Qin Shubao's heart. He understood that, even though the imperial court was rotten, there were still heroes and extraordinary forces waiting for the right time among the people. From the depths of despair, he found his first soulmate, a hidden dragon who would stir up trouble with him in the future. At Nihin Trang, Don Hung Tin had someone clean the cleanest room, personally inviting Tan Thuc Bao to sit down. Good wine was brought up. The two heroes drank together under the moon. After 3 rounds of wine, Don Hung Tin put down his cup, his eyes looking at Tan Thuc Bao full of admiration. Don Hung Tin, low, clear voice. Brother Thuc Bao, I have long admired your reputation. Today, seeing you in trouble, I really can't bear it. How could a martial Star Lord be made miserable by these demonic officials to this extent? Tan Thuc Bao was startled. He raised his cup and softly replied, Tan Thuc Bao, calm voice, a little surprised. Brother Don is too kind. I am just a small official. How dare I accept the title of a god? I just didn't expect that in this filthy officialdom. I would meet a hero with extraordinary temperament like Don. You can see the situation. You are definitely not an ordinary person. Don Hung Tin laughed loudly. His laughter echoed throughout the manor, carrying a spiritual energy that made the surrounding trees tremble slightly. Don Hung Tin, ha ha. Brother, you are very wise. I am not a human, but a Jiaolong cultivating in this Ji Shui River. Because I am tired of the lonely life of cultivating immortals, and admire the righteousness of heroes in the human world, I transformed here and established Nihin Trang to make friends. Today, meeting you, I know that the fate of heaven has been decided. The stars have begun to converge. You stay here. I will take care of everything. Qin Shubao was shocked. He knew that he had met a strange person. He stood up and bowed deeply. Qin Shubao, thank you for your kindness, Brother Don. As long as I, Thuc Bao, get back the official document, I will definitely not forget this kindness today. The next morning, Don Hung Tin brought gold and silver to the court and smashed it on the desk of the prefect surnamed Sai. The evil spirit on the prefect's body felt the Xiaolong spirit energy of Don Hung Tin and trembled with fear. He hurriedly stamped the document, not daring to say another word. Tan Thuc Bao bid farewell to Don Hung Tin and set off to return to his hometown, but his heart was no longer as lonely as before. Chapter 5. The Demon King of Chaos takes action. Strange encounter. Meanwhile, Cheng Xiaojin, after learning the 3 hammer moves in his dream, felt the power surging within him, unable to sit still. He thought, with such a terrifying ability, why should I suffer by smuggling salt? I must make a good trip. Thinking, he carried the big hammer, found a deserted road, hid behind a big tree, and decided to make a road robbery to test his skills. Not long after, a skinny scholar, leading a creaking donkey, came over. Cheng Xiaojin jumped out and shouted loudly. Cheng Xiaojin, in a loud voice, Aha! I planted this tree. I opened this road. If you want to pass here, leave a toll. The scholar was not afraid at all, just smiled, waving a paper fan in his hand. Scholar, oh? This warrior looks handsome. Why is he doing this job? I'm just a fortune teller. How can I give you money? Cheng Xiaojin glared. Cheng Xiaojin, don't talk too much. If you don't have money, then leave your life. Look at my hammer. He swung his hammer up, using the first move he learned. Thick Sun Thick. A powerful gust of wind slashed down, but the scholar only tilted his body slightly. The hammer slashed into the air, cutting the rocks on the side of the road in half. Cheng Xiaojin was surprised and quickly used the second move, TGC Na Thick, to slash horizontally. The scholar took another step back. The tip of the hammer grazed the hem of his clothes. Angry, Cheng Xiaojin used all his strength, turned around and launched the third move, Kwai Kok Thang Siu. But the scholar suddenly disappeared. Cheng Xiaojin slashed into the air, lost his balance, and fell to the ground. When he raised his head, he saw the scholar standing in front of him, still waving his fan, smiling. Scholar, your 3 hammer strikes do have some divine power, but unfortunately, you haven't learned the last move yet, so you have such a big flaw. You have the good fortune of the heavenly gang star. Why don't you find a bright path and go, instead of doing this robbery? Only then did Cheng Xiaojin realize that he had encountered a master, and he quickly knelt down and kowtowed. Cheng Xiaojin, immortal, spare my life. I have eyes that cannot see Mount Tai. I beg you to show me a bright path. The scholar was none other than Su Meihogong, who was on his way to search for the descending celestial lords. He looked at Cheng Xiaojin and pointed to the east. Su Meihogong, your fate is not here. Go east to the Angoa Gang region. There is a righteous leader there, where you can use these 3 hammer strikes to establish meritorious deeds. Having said that, Tu Mao Gong disappeared into the smoke. Cheng Xiaojin was stunned for a moment, then overjoyed. He shouldered his axe, no longer thinking about looting, and continued straight east. The path of heroes, though winding, ultimately led to a destined meeting point.